Hello, everyone. I am here to talk about the two new songs that Florence and the Machine has just released off of the upcoming fifth studio album that has just been announced. Florence and the Machine's new album is called Dance Fever. We have the album art. We know that there are going to be 14 songs on the standard edition and 5 deluxe tracks on the deluxe. So we're getting ceremonial's length of a record here, which I'm really excited about. The album comes out on May 13th. But she's giving us quite a bit of a sneak peek right now because we've already got King, which I've already reviewed on this channel, which I will link in the description if anyone is interested to see. And now we have not one, but 2 new songs. The second song she released is called Heaven is Here, and it is questioningly only 2 minutes long. I was like, Florence, I love you, but girl, why is this song only 2 minutes? And also, why is it the second song you're giving us? I mean, at least it wasn't the first. So I suppose it is a bit more like an interlude, but also a bit of a teaser for what's to come. And I appreciate it despite its length. And then we have My Love, which feels a lot more like the official first single of this record. It's a lot more of a traditional dance record. And since this album is called Dance Fever, and there's a little bit more of a pop radio-like glint to this song, I could see it easily being more promoted than King was, which was a little bit more avant-garde. But that's not to say that I do not love all 3 of these tracks for entirely different reasons, even though they, especially the second one, Heaven is Here, took a little bit of time to digest. I am really excited for what we are about to get, but I will say this. When the album title and album cover was released, I don't want to say I was underwhelmed. I think it's just always a little difficult with an artist like Florence. You hold them to such high expectation that you expect to be absolutely floored and blown away by the title and the album art. And I'll admit, I wasn't exactly blown away by either. First of all, the album title is a little less poetic than I've come to expect from Florence. It sounds like a million other sort of Euro disco album titles that you could find. There's a little lack of high art kind of poetic, romantic element to that title. But keep in mind, there's a lot of things that can be interpreted from it. Yes, it's a little bit more of a general title. We also know that Florence doesn't like to title her albums after actual songs on the record. So I think it's safe to say that and actually kind of hope, there will not be a song on this record called Dance Fever. It's a broad, encompassing title, which does make one a little bit potentially concerned that we are going to be getting an album full of very sort of synthetic pop dance music, which is not really Florence's style. I mean, Florence definitely flirts with pop music. From looking at, who is working on this project, so far we know that there are a couple big producers who are coming into the fore. First of all, Jack Antonoff, which I did mention in King, he's on that track. I actually don't think that his sound is really at all at play there. I think Florence is very much at the helm here, and I'm actually happy to know he's not the only person producing this record. He's only on some of it. He's not going to be on every track. Dave Bailey produces half of the record, and he is known for the work of the Glass Animals. I am not familiar with that band. I've heard of them. Some people are like, oh no, this is not a good sign, and others are like, no, this is a really good thing. So I'm not going to listen to their music. Well, maybe, but I'm not sure what to think of it right now. But I think of it as a Florence record. I don't really worry so much about who's producing her music because I think Florence does a pretty good job besides when it's like Calvin Harris on Sweet Nothing or something, besides that, which was very much a pop thing, I think she really always just sounds true to herself, true to her band sound, her instrumentalists, her harpists, her people on guitar. I think it's all going to come together. Even if we do get on like My Love, a little bit more of a thumping rhythmic section coming through. And we do know that there is one unreleased song called Free, so we know one other song title. The title of this record Florence has talked about was inspired over the course of the pandemic, so over the last 2 years when she was making this record, she was inspired by something called choreomania. Choreomania was a big thing, especially around the Renaissance, and it was basically a bunch of people who would dance very feverishly, very wildly and exuberantly to the point of exhaustion and sometimes even to the point of death. Maybe they take it a little too far. Think of people dancing around fires out in the woods, just like getting seized by some kind of like the Shakers, if you think about those like old fundamentalist Christian type people, the power of the Lord compels their body to move, that kind of thing. And Florence was very much kind of inspired by this idea, especially in lockdown when she couldn't actually go out and do her touring. She couldn't perform. She couldn't go and dance at a club. She couldn't do the kinds of things that she had been doing for a decade before, and she was feeling that withdrawal. And so she really wanted to kind of explore what was the meaning behind needing that kind of escape and needing that kind of thing that comes from community dance. Now, I'm not someone who goes out to the club very often and frequents those kinds of scenes. And I think of Florence as a very introverted person, but I know that she likes to dance. I know that she likes to let loose. She's actually organizing her own sort of modern dance troupe, who I think we saw for the first time in the Big God music video 4 years ago, and they all return on all three of these new songs. As Heaven is Here was actually made, Florence said, sort of with this arrhythmic kind of a cappella and inspiration to create something that was very modern dance, something that she could have herself choreograph with her women around her. And so I kind of looking at it through that lens, understand a little bit more why the songs are like they are. My Love, though, is definitely more traditional in the sense of it being like a pop tune that has that sort of rhythm that is easy to dance to. And so, first, let's talk just a little bit more about My Love. We have a music video here. We also know that Florence, alongside working on this record, has been writing a ton of songs for her own stage adaptation of The Great Gatsby. Now, I think of The Great Gatsby, and Florence definitely comes to mind. She actually contributed a song that's wonderful to the Baz Luhrmann 2013 film. And I think she should have also featured in the film, but at least she was on the soundtrack. But now she's coming up with her own entire take on it, which will be then songs sung by other individuals. So it'll be like what Sarah Bareilles has done with Waitress, her own in her original musical. I think this is brilliant. I don't think personally The Great Gatsby is as great as Florence thinks it is. She thinks it's the best piece of 20th century art ever made. But to each their own. I think that The Great Gatsby is definitely in line with the 1920s and 30s aesthetic that she's flirting with the styling. She did that a lot on Ceremonials. She's doing that again here. I think that Florence definitely lives in that era, and so I could see her easily writing from that perspective of all those characters. So definitely inspired with the setting that we are getting, this 1930s decor. You could almost say it's also a little Gilded Age, but there's a little mixture of that late 19th century inspiration. Florence has always flirted with that, and obviously we're getting a little bit more of the makeup and hairstyled and a little bit more couture Florence that we didn't really see any of on her last two records. Her last two records were so raw and authentic, and there wasn't really much makeup involved. But Ceremonials was quite, pretentious in that way, and it was quite staged and theatrical. And so we're getting back to that a little bit, which is, I think, why Ceremonials so far, especially after listening to My Love, is the record that I think we're the most in tune with now, which has me so excited because I often forget how much I love that record. I think How Big, How Blue sort of overshadowed it for a while because I just was so obsessed with the art statement of that record. But Ceremonials has the bops. Ceremonials has these soaring anthemic melodies that I just can't get enough of. And it was the album that introduced me to her. So I'm really excited. And My Love, like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm here for her dance music. Like, it's just, I get it. I get what she's doing. It's anthemic. She has those long soaring vocal notes overarched and layered over, a much more dance hall ready rhythm. So tell me where to put my love. Do I wait for time to do what it does? I don't know where to put my love, she screams in the chorus. I think this is reminiscent of how she was feeling during lockdown when she was like, okay, so in a few months, this is all going to be over and I'm going to be able to get back to my old self again. But she was having all these feelings and she didn't know where to put it because she was just stuck in her little room, which, that's been my life my whole life. But, no pandemics needed to get me to stay locked up in myself. But I guess Florence is a little bit more of an extrovert and not so much of a homebody as I thought she was, though I'm pretty sure she still is a homebody. I was always able to write my way out. The song always made sense to me. Now I find that when I look down, every page is empty. There is nothing to describe except the moon still bright against the worrying sky. I pray the trees will get their leaves soon. I think that's very symbolic of I'm like completely empty. This prolonged period of time where I'm supposed to be gathering all this inspiration is maybe fruitful in the fact that she is actually writing all this music, but I think metaphorically she's sort of feeling drained by not being able to go out into the public and feed off of the people listening to her music, and she's just missing that to kind of give that spark of life again, and she's hoping that one day things will look more like back to how they were. um, and so, Dave Bailey, if this is the sound of sound you are going to be giving us, contrasted to the Jack Antonoff King, I'm here for it. That's not to slight King. I think King is great for its own thing. I think King is a very Florence sounding song. My Love is a little bit more Florence meets a DJ, but it's not in the level of, Sweet Nothing or something where it was obvious that she had no hand in it. This feels like a Florence, touched magical moment. But it's okay that it's a little bit more up tempo and a little bit more produced of a sound where you don't always have to sound like a raw organic band all the time. And I think this album is going to straddle those worlds, both of them, because Heaven is Here, which is much more about lyrics than it is about instrumentation, is really showing the artistic gravity that she's grappling with. I think we're going to be having a project here that's going to tell this very enigmatic story that's going to have, again, poetry that only Florence can create. And she's going to really take us to those kind of Lana Del Rey levels of songwriting that she always does so well. Oh, bring your salt, bring your cigarette. Draw me a circle and I'll protect. Heaven is here if you want it. Oh, bring your boy, bring your bottle. Open your mouth, pour it down his neck. Heaven is here if you want it. And all of the fish, let them flounder. I went to the water, drank every drop. I'll turn your sea to a desert. More Catholic taste than the devil. All gilded and golden, yes, I'm your girl. Hell, if it glitters, I'm going. And I ride in my red dress, and time stretches endless. With my gun in my hand, you know I always get my man. And every song I wrote became an escape rope tied around my neck to pull me up to heaven. That last part is spoken word, and I'm hoping we get a little bit more of that. We don't really have so much of that with Florence. And I love the juxtaposition of such, kind of witchy, dark, ominous lyrics that she has in the verses, coupled with the idea of heaven is here if you want it, which you'd think of as something quite elegiac and quite, a statement that is very much zenned out. And Florence is anything but in the choreography. Everything is so manic and frenzied, full of rage. And yet she's like shouting this, like, please get this into your system that you understand that heaven is here if you want it. But, if you're going to stick to all your vices and, drain the oceans with your desire, run free, girl, but you know that it's going to destroy you. Like, you're self-destructive. I get that energy of I'm tired of being self-destructive. I'm tired of having this gun in my hand. But I run through people like nothing else romantically, and I'm just searching for fulfillment. And this is just how I live my life. Like, I can't fix this about myself. So Kid Harpoon is also a producer on here. So he doesn't, there's not a lot of production going on, but I think that this is definitely a flavor of hopefully some other songs that we get, which might be a little longer, hopefully, but are in this vein of maybe not necessarily a cappella the whole time, but this sort of marching, arrhythmic, vocally expressive sort of exploration that she has with the movement and her voice. Two things that can pair together so wonderfully. Ultimately, I'm just ready for this record, and I have not much else to say other than I do want to just talk about the album art. So like I said, with the title, the album art was kind of like, okay, like the photo shoot is reminiscent of the singles, and we have this sort of hippie witch kind of vibe going on here. I love the giant, flowers in her hair just being so lengthy. And there's this real power to her posture. But some of the, kind of what I think of as kind of Photoshoppy effects with the background, with the moth and the moon, it's a little cliche. It's a little cliche, pagan witch. Maybe it's a little too on the nose for me. And it's like, I want this from her. Don't get me wrong. I want my Pagan Witch album. I just want the album art to be a little more subversive, a little like edgier. I don't know what to say. I'm already fine with it. I think that I'm just going to accept it for what it is. But this album art is not quite, it's just not quite what I was expecting. Especially with the title of Dance Fever, it's an interesting pairing. It's an interesting pairing. We've got this, like hyper medieval glam, witchy pagan stuff mixed with a quite modern dance title. It's kind of generic, and we're used to Florence having this unique style to everything, this photographic eye to everything. And Autumn Deaville, who is now doing all of her music videos and photo shoots, is really, I think, apt for that. But it'll be just interesting to see how the rest of the visuals for this pan out. But I'm very excited for this new project. I am not going to review, however, any more singles before the album comes out. So I want to make sure that's very clear because I don't want to review too much before the album. I've just wanted to put out my thoughts on these two songs, and then we will wait and see a couple more months for Dance Fever make that video. So I will see you all on that one. I hope you all enjoyed this review. I will link in the description all of my Florence reviews that I have done to date as well if you'd like to check them out. Please give this a like and subscribe if you're new here. That would be much appreciated. And I will see you all in my next one. I hope you all have a wonderful, blessed day. Peace, love, and light. Bye.